Hey, what's up guys? It's Foster from SubiSpeed, and today we're going to be working on the STI and installing the new GrimmSpeed bypass valve in this awesome red finish. So before we get started, you might be wondering why we're working on the STI today, and that's because we're going to be doing a full engine build series with pretty much the full GrimmSpeed catalog of performance parts. So if you haven't watched it, I'll put a link to the video in the description or up above, and you can go back and check that out. So let's talk for a minute about why you'd want to change out your stock bypass valve with an upgraded one like this one here from GrimmSpeed. Well, there's going to be several reasons why you want to do that. The first is that GrimmSpeed did some testing and they actually found that the stock bypass valve can leak at higher boost levels. And since we're planning on putting a bigger turbo on the STI anyway, we figured let's go ahead and make sure the bypass valve isn't causing any pesky boost leaks. The other reason why you might want to upgrade your bypass valve is for the internals. This features a huge 38mm brass piston, which means it's going to be able to handle higher boost levels. When you run an upgraded turbo, you're going to be moving a lot more air, and the bypass valve has to be able to dump that air so that it doesn't damage the turbo. So by upgrading to a larger piston size, you're going to be able to keep up with higher boost levels without damaging your turbo. So hopefully you guys now know a little bit more about the benefits of installing an upgraded bypass valve. Let's go ahead and put 2 minutes on the clock and get started with this install. On the STI, the bypass valve is mounted directly to the intercooler here. So the first step we're going to do is remove this vacuum line. And since ours has already been removed, I'm going to use these diagonal cutters to remove the zip tie, but you might have to remove a hose clamp instead. Obviously you want to be careful so that you don't damage the vacuum line. And then once that's off, you go ahead and pull it off the bypass valve. The next step is to take a ratchet with a 12mm socket and remove the 2 bolts holding the bypass valve onto the intercooler. Next step is to use some channel locks, or you can use some long needle nose pliers, and you want to get behind the bypass valve to loosen the factory hose clamp so you can remove the bypass valve from the recirculation hose. Next up, remove the gasket that seals the bypass valve to the intercooler. You may have to use a razor blade for this, but in our case, it actually comes off pretty easily. Real quick, before you install your new GrimmSpeed bypass valve, you're going to want to transfer over this fitting. Use a Phillips screwdriver to loosen these screws, and then once they are loose, you can go ahead and transfer it over. All right, now that that is complete, we can go ahead and get this unit on the STI. Installation is pretty much the reverse as the uninstallation process we just did. The first thing you're going to want to do is get that recirculation hose hooked back up to your bypass valve. Next, grab your pliers and slide that clamp up on the recirculation hose. Grab your new bypass valve gasket and the 2 12mm bolts that you previously had and put them back in place. Be careful not to over tighten the nuts with your ratchet. The torque spec on these is only 11.8 foot-pounds. Last but not least, you're going to want to attach the vacuum line to the new bypass valve. Once you get that on there, use a zip tie or a hose clamp to keep it in place. All right, so that pretty much does it for the installation. As you can see, it's a really easy project to take on yourself, just removing a couple bolts and hoses and replacing it with a new bypass valve. But with that upgrade, you're gonna get added performance, reliability, and best of all, you're gonna get some more turbo noises. All right, so if you guys found this video helpful, hit that like button and comment down below and let me know what type of future videos you wanna see, and I'll try and make it happen. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you later.